Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I did these lovely baubles for the Christmas in Summer collaboration yesterday, and I said during the video that I would come back on and I would show you how I put them together. So I have done another one. I did this one last night while I was on a Zoom chat with my family. We do a weekly family quiz on a Saturday night over Zoom, and I made this one up whilst we were Zooming last night. So I thought I would come back on and show you how to put them together. So I will just put these ones to one side and change the camera angle, and I'll be right back. So this is the set that I used to create these ornaments, and it is by Tonic Studios, and it's Winter Wonderland Bauble. It comes with 20 dies, so you get the actual die to cut out the bauble shape, and then you get some layering pieces, so triangles and the rectangles to go on the panels. And then there's also some little elements. Now these are fab because you can obviously use them to hang on your baubles, depending on what style of bauble you go for. But also you could use these on card projects, on tag flips, on just about anything Christmas related. You've got some that have got the little holes for the tags. So the bauble, the snowflake and candy cane are all little tagged ones, but then you've got the little stocking, the Christmas tree and the star, which aren't. So I haven't actually used any of those elements in this. I have just used the bauble die, but I can see lots of uses for it. So all I've done is cut out two of the bauble element. Now I'm just using single-sided paper for this, and it works absolutely fine. The only bit where you sort of see it at the end is on the back of here, so I just glue them together right at the end, which I'll show you when we get to that part. So the first thing to do when you've got your cutouts cut out, the first thing to do is fold it all. So I just start by folding all the main sort of score lines up and down, just folding them all in on themselves like this, just all the horizontal and vertical ones to start with. That's sort of how I found it easiest to start. So once I've folded all of that, I've then got these score lines here. See, like the diamond type shape? And the way that I found that is best is to put it so that the white side is down, or the wrong side is down, and then just pull it up onto that score line, and just where it meets the middle centre line, I just push it upwards and away from that. And the same on this side. It naturally wants to fold into that position anyway, because obviously that's what the score lines are there for. But I just find that for me, this was sort of the easiest way of folding it onto that score line. And the way to think about it is, you want, when it all comes together, the triangle bits, the diamond shapes in the centre, they want to be recessed, whereas the panels, the rectangular panels, want to be brought forward. So it's just thinking, before you start folding, thinking about where you want it to, you know, how you want that to end up in your finished bauble. So I will do the same again on this bit. And that's the other way that you can do it, is to fold it over and just sort of pinch along that crease line. Either way will work. Okay, so once I've got all of the score lines folded, I would then obviously, I'll do the other piece. So you obviously don't want to sit and watch me do exactly the same thing again. So I will just pause the camera and I will fold this one up, and then I'll come back. Okay, so they're now all scored and folded on their score lines. I have sort of given them a nice sharp crease on the score lines just with my my fingers and my nail. But just be mindful of the paper you're using, because obviously if the paper cracks, if it's quite thick paper and prone to cracking, it's not quite as easy to put together. So I've done those, and before I stick these bits together and get going with that, I'm just going to put my layering pieces together just so that they're nice and dry and ready for us to use when we want to start putting those embellishments on. So for these, I have used the open frame, rectangle frame that's got the narrower dimensions on it, because I want it to sit behind my lacy piece. I've used the lacy panel die and the dotted border die, and what I've done is I've layered it together and then I've just stuck it together with a bit of white paper tape, and that's just so that every single piece is exactly the same, because I've been layering them. So only for the rectangular bits, I didn't do it for the triangular bits that are recessed, but for the bits that are on the front, I just thought it looked really nice with a little tiny bit of dimension. So just for this, just for the cream pieces, I have layered two together. So it's important, obviously, that they both cut out exactly the same. So that's why I taped them together. And if you leave a little piece of tape hanging over, it just helps you to position your die on your paper, on your cutting surface, and then it'll just stick and hold in place whilst you cut. I did all of these little ones using my baby blue from Tattered Lace, and they cut out perfectly well. Obviously the bigger pieces I cut on Big Shot, but these little ones I just sat while I was watching some videos and cut them out on my little baby blue at my desk. So and then I've cut out the back panel. So for this one, obviously the smaller rectangle, I've just cut out of a piece of nice gold mirrored cardstock, and I'm just layering that behind the lace panel like so, just like that. And then all I'll do is I'll pop something heavy on that, so an acrylic block or something, and just let that set up for a few minutes just while I work on the other bits, so that it doesn't move on me. And then with the triangle piece, like I say, I haven't been layering these ones. I think because they're recessed anyway, it's quite nice to have the difference in height and sort of texture on the different elements. So for that one, I just cut the front piece, which this one I've picked the snowflake die, and then I've just used the plain triangle to cut a backer for it. So again, I'm just going to pop that to one side under the block. So it was this die for the cream piece and that die for the gold piece. For the cream cardstock, I have been using this, it's like a linen effect. I don't know if my camera will pick it up. Well, there you go. It's like a linen effect, and it's got a slight sort of satiny sheen to it as well. So it's really pretty cardstock. It actually only came from, I think it was either the Pound Shop or Home Bargains or somewhere. It was very, very cheap, but I use it quite a lot. It's a really nice cardstock. So to save time, I have already done all the other panels that I'm going to need for this bauble. So I've got all of these here. So before we do that, I need to stick these bits of the die together. So I've just put a little bit of red liner tape on, because that's nice and strong, and it's sort of once you've sort of varnished it together, it's pretty permanent. So I've just got some very, very thin pieces of that on there. And then I will put a little bit of white glue over the top, and that's more than anything just so that I've got a little bit of wiggle room before that tape totally sticks. So the way that I found best to line these pieces up is to take the centre line on one box and line it up with the centre line on the other, like so. And then you want to just make sure that this piece is just this side of the fold line, because otherwise it won't fold properly. And then you can just fold it to make sure it's in the right place, and it is. I'm happy with that. So I can now burnish that flat. So just take a bone folder and give that a bit of a burnish down. Flip it over and do the same from the underside. And there we go. So now I've got one long continuous piece. Now, before I put it together, I'm going to pop my panels on. I found that it is easier to pop your panels on whilst it's still flat. So they are slightly different top and bottom on these ones. Lots of shine. So you've got like the swoop coming down there and a big open space on the bottom. So I try and make sure that I'm lining them all up the same way, just because I think, you know, you get a neater look if you do that. I'm going to put enough glue on that one. So just put a little tiny bit of hot glue in the middle, and that's just so that it'll hold in place whilst the white glue sets off. I don't trust hot glue, particularly with anything that's going to be, you know, this is going to be shaped and made into a bauble. It tends to pop off and ping off and go all over the place, and I don't think it lasts the test of time. So whilst I do use it, and I think it's it's a fab glue for that quick adhesive, and for things like bag toppers and that, it's fab. You know, not things that you're not expecting to be kept. But you know, I might like to keep these and pop them out year after year. So I'm going to put some white glue on because I think that will hold better. So obviously I'm just going to work my way all the way down this bauble, and I'm going to put all the rectangle pieces in the middle of the rectangle panels, like so. And then obviously I will inlay all of the triangle pieces. So like that. So I'm trying to sort of line it up so that, you know, everything's tidy and in line with each other. And then obviously with the triangular pieces, they lay in the centre of your triangle piece like that. So one goes upwards and one goes downwards like so. So I will go and glue them all on, and then we will come back. Okay, there we go. So now all the panels are stuck on, and the next step is to join the two sides of the box together. So again, in the same way that I did with the other side, I've got some red liner tape just on this part here. Can't get the red liner off my fingers. I'll just use my tool to, because I've just got a piece of red liner tape thing up my finger and it hurts. Okay. So again, I'm just going to pop just a little bit of white glue, and it's just the tacky glue, Anita's tacky glue, and that's just to give me that wiggle room again. And again, I'm just going to line up the centre line on the bauble, make sure that I'm this side of the fold line. Ooh. Struggling with it. Fiddly bit. I'm not even in the camera fiddling with it. Try again. Okay. Try again. Fold it over. central line to central line, up to but not over the fold line. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So I'm just going to press that down and just give that a moment. And then, I don't know where my big folder's gone. Oh, it's hiding in plain sight. So I'm just popping that down down the centre of the bauble and just giving that join a bit of a rub there to make sure that it stays joined, like so. Now obviously you probably would want to then just give that a couple of minutes to let it dry, but because I'm impatient and I want to do it for the video, I'm not going to. So I'm just popping all the bottom tabs out, and then I'm going to take opposite tabs. So this one to this one. So I'm going to start off with a bit of white glue on the bottom side of this tab, like so. And then I'm going to put a double glue just on the centre of the hot glue, and that's again just for speed, just to make it stick. And I'm going to pull them together, line them up, and then press them down together. It's quite hard to show on the camera. So all I've done is take opposite sides and join them, line them up nicely and join them. And this is where it all sort of starts to come together, because now we're going to do the other opposite sides. And as you can see, as soon as you pull those opposite sides in together, you start getting that shape on your bauble. So I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to put a bit of wet glue on the one side, and then this time I'm just going to go straight into the centre. So I'm going to put a dab of glue on the centre there, and then I'm going to try and line that up as best I can, pulling that over and on to the other side. And then I want to do the same with this side. So I'm just going to put some white glue on. I'm not going to put any more hot glue on, just because I want to try and get a needle through here for the bead tassel to go on the bottom. So I don't want to make it any thicker than it already is. So I'm just going to use the white glue, and I'm just going to hold it for a moment and just let that set up like so. Okay, so at that point, I'm now going to set this to one side. So I'm not going to seal the top of the box up yet, because we need to put the tassel in. So I'm just going to set that off to one side to dry, and I'm going to bring in the stuff that I need to do my tassel. So I've got a beading tray with all different beads in, and I've also got this big tray here, which has got a jumble of beads in. I bought a big, well, lots of little pots of beads for 50p from the local craft store, Hobbycraft. Well, every now and again they clear out all of the beads, and all the mixed up beads, they just bundle them up into pots like this, and they sell them for 50p a pot. So I usually grab a fiver's worth when they do that, because I love beads. So at some point I am actually going to sit and go through all of these and sort them all out into their individual bead types, because I really enjoy doing that. I don't know why, but I find it cathartic. I love running my fingers through them, and I actually really enjoy sitting and sorting all the like beads out. I might film it and do a time lapse of it, because I think that'd be quite cool to watch. So for the time being, I've picked out a few. I've picked some out from there, and then I've picked some out from my stash. So that's what we've got at the moment. And to start with, I want some bead caps, and I've been using these. They're just cheap little gold sort of like leaf bead caps. I get them from AliExpress, and I've got tons of them. So I start off with these. And I put everything on to just some beading thread. So again, this is just from AliExpress. I think it's about £3 for this whole great big reel of it. I've had this for ages, and it just goes on and on and on. There's loads of it. So it's fab. And then I bought a white thinner one as well to try and do some brick stitch and stuff with the tiny seed beads, so I need to have a go with that at some point as well. Okay, so can't pick up my thread. Right, so I think what I'll do is I will just get all the little pieces that I need, and I'll find something to put underneath so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've picked out the beads that I want to use, and I'm going to sort of do them in a graduating sort of droplet so that it gets thinner towards the bottom. I've also picked out just 3 little spaces to put between the beads, just because I like that look, and then a tiny little bead cap in the gold again to go on the bottom, and then obviously I've got the 2 leaf bead caps that I put on the top bead. I've also got a gold eye pin, and this is what I'm going to attach the tassel to once I've completed the bead tassel part. I've got some glue. I've got some, this is E6000, which I've only just found out is actually banned in this country, so I'm not entirely sure how I've managed to get hold of it, but there you go. I've got some E6000, but I have also been using some of this clear gloss. That seems to work quite well. Some 2-part epoxy. There's all different glues that you can use. From everything that I've read, the E6000 is about the best glue that you can use for jewellery making, but it is also carcinogenic, so you've got to be really careful with it. I do craft in my conservatory. I've usually got all my doors and my windows open, so I'm very well ventilated in here. I wouldn't use this in an unventilated area, small room, anything like that. I'd perhaps take it outside to do it. I am looking for a jewellery glue because I am just starting to get into jewellery. So if anybody knows of a really good alternative to E6000, I'd be really interested to hear. I have also threaded a beading needle with some of my thread. This thread is quite thick for a beading needle. It only just goes on, so that's why I have pre-threaded it, because I didn't think you'd want to sit and watch me fighting with it. But I've put a good length on there because I'd rather have too much than not enough when I'm making it. So to start with, I'm just going to put my bead cap on and my first bead, and I want to shape my bead cap around that bead. I want it to sort of take on some of the shape of that bead, and that's the nice thing about these thin, really thin metal ones, is that you can shape them somewhat. So even if it's not exactly the right size bead cap, you can usually make it work. Then I just take a tiny bit of the glue. Need something to sit this on so I don't end up with it on my beading tray. I'm just taking a little tiny bit on a cocktail stick, and I'm just going to, drop my bead. I'm just going to put a little bit just around the top of my bead there, and then when I pop that on, pop my bead cap back on, it takes a little while. It doesn't stick straight away, the E6000, but once it does stick, it's properly stuck, and nothing's going to get that undone. And then I'm going to just put a little tiny bit of glue on the bottom of this one, and the reason that I'm using the glue is because my eye pins are not really long enough, so it doesn't entirely hold it all together, but that's okay. This is my workaround. You may not need to do it if you've got long enough eye pins, but I've just been gluing them together for a bit of extra security. And then I'm just going to pop that one up, and I'm just going to offset them slightly so that the bead caps are not sort of meeting in the same place. Oops. As you can see, I'm all fingers and thumbs. Okay. So that's that. I'm just going to pop my light on and see if that helps the situation. I'm struggling to see apart from anything. Okay. So next I want to put my next size bead on. So I'm just going for this nice bobbly pearl bead, which is very cute. I'm going to pop that one on. Now I'm going to go for one of my little spacer beads. These are tiny, tiny little things. Pop that one up, and then I want my next bead. And like I say, I'm graduating the bead sizes down to the smallest. So put one of those on. Then I've got this pretty little one here. I'm putting a bead spacer on in between each bead, or a bead cap, depending on. So I've got bead cap at the top, obviously, and then I've got spacers in between all the others, and then I'll put a bead cap on the bottom. Okay, now before I put the bottom two on, I just want to get rid of my thread back up through to the top. So I'm going to go over the top of that final bead spacer, and I'm going to go back up through all of my beads. Trying not to pierce the thread, just because it makes it harder to pull it back up through. Glue's setting already, so it's making it a little bit tricky. You could do all the beading and then put your glue on at the last minute. That might actually make it a little bit easier. So there we go, I've got it. So just pull this one tight, and then I'm going to just pull my beading needle back up through those beads, and you'll see that down the bottom there, it starts to tighten everything up. Now I can take my beading needle off, and that's what I've got so far. So I've got the 4 beads, and they're on my thread like so, and my thread is no longer hanging out the bottom. And like I say, the reason that I'm doing it like this is because I didn't have long enough eye pins. If I had really long eye pins, I probably could have done it without, but I quite like the sort of flexibility that this gives. Okay, now I'm going to pop on to my eye pin my end bead cap and my smallest bead, and again I'm just going to put a little bit of the glue in here to try and make sure that it all stays together once it's done and set. Try and get a little bit of the glue. So I'm just going to put inside that bead cap, I'm going to put some of the E6000, and then I'm going to push that bead down into that. Okay. Then I'm going to take that and I'm going to push it up through that little spacer bead, which will pull that one back into line. And then I'm just going to thread it up through all the beads as far up as it will go. There we go. And then pull tightly on the thread to make sure that there's no sort of thread showing. And you can't really see it, but the thread is just over that spacer bead there. And that's what stopped it from just pulling it all the way out. Now, before that, we finish this up entirely, I'm just going to take another little bit of the E6000, and I'm just going to put a bit between this bottom spacer and the smallest bead, and that's just so that the eye pin doesn't fall out, because the spacer and the bead will be stuck together, and the E6000 is all around the little part of the eye pin as well. So as you push that up and into place, that will stay in place. So that's that bit. Okay, just put the glue lid back on my tube of E6000, because obviously this is now precious, because apparently I shouldn't have it and I probably won't be able to get hold of any more. Okay, so once I've got this far, I now need to get it into my Yeah, bauble. So to do that, I've got a sharp darning needle. So it's got a nice big eye on it, but it's got a nice sharp point on it. And all I'm going to do is I can trim this down a little bit now because I don't need quite that much anymore. So I'll just cut. Can't cut a nice clean end. So I've cut that, and I'm just going to thread that into my darning needle. So like I say, I've got a nice sharp on my darning needle. I'm flipping those ends over like that and placing it onto my table, and then roughly in the centre, and I don't get overly worked up about this bit, I just, roughly, and then I just sort of twist the needle. Now, because I put that hot glue glob in the middle, it's a little bit harder than it normally is. So I'm just going to take my beads off and do it without the beads there. And if I can't get it through with the needle, which I can't, that's my fault because I put hot glue there without thinking. But I've got a very sharp piercing tool, so that will go through the hot glue. There we go. There we go. Where there's a will, there's a way. So now I can rethread my beaded charm onto here, like so, and I can pull that up through the bottom of the box. Sort of reach down and in, and then just grab the cords and pull them in. Now obviously I need them to stay in there. So the best way that I found, the easiest way, was to take, because of the weight, it's not just like a tassel, there's quite a bit of weight to it because it's beads. I found one of the best ways was to use hot glue, and I'm hoping that it'll hold. And I used just a flat back gem. It doesn't matter what it looks like because you're not going to see it. So this is just some larger flat back gems that I had in my stash. And all I do is take my hot glue gun and just chuck a load of hot glue down the bottom there. And once that's all set and gone off, obviously the threads are all caught in the hot glue. But to help it, I found that if I pushed a flat back gem over into all that hot sticky glue and over those threads, obviously again that's just helping to keep the threads where you want them to be. Okay, so I'm going to have to just leave that for a moment or two because I'm going to need to let the glue dry, because if I try and do anything with this now, the weight of those beads is just going to pull through that hole. As soon as the hot glue has set, it's fine and I can carry on with it. And obviously hot glue doesn't take long to set, so I will be back in a moment or two. Okay, so that's set enough now that I can carry on. So I'm just going to push the threads down into the bottom there, and that's it. I don't have to worry about those. I'm not going to snip them off or anything because they can just sit inside the little box. Now, I am going to glue these two bits together just because I've got single-sided paper and I don't want to see the white. So I found that the best way to do it was to use my white glue so that I could get it lined up the way I wanted it to. Oops. But because there is a little bit of tension on it, because of the nature of the box that we're making, it sort of wants to spring apart before it's had time to set. So it is a little bit fiddly. And obviously if you'd got double-sided papers, you wouldn't need to worry about doing this. It's only because I'm wanting to use up these single-sided papers that I have got in my stash. Like so. So already you can see that it's done what it was doing on the bottom, and it started to pull it all together. And then obviously you're just going to pull in and tuck that bit under these tabs here. And then I've just been putting just a dot of hot glue under there just to help it stay together like so. Like that. And then the same again on the other side. Pull it together and tuck that bit through there, like so. And then you can sort of push on the side panels, pop just a little bit of hot glue under there, and then push that down into place like that. And there you go. You've now got the shape of your bauble with your beaded tassel bit on the bottom. We need to add the actual tassel, so for that I've got these little tiny tassels. Again, I bought them from AliExpress. I bought just a pack of all different colours just to start with, just to see if I liked them, and to be honest, they've been in my stash for ages, and I sort of, haven't found any projects for them, but they are perfect for this. They're just the right size. So I have ordered, I think they're 60p for, I don't know, 20 or 50, or you get tons. It must be at least 50 in there actually, and they're 60 pence, free shipping. So I've just, rather than getting the mix pack this time, I've ordered some more of this sort of caramelly colour. I've ordered some cream, dark green, and some red, I think. I've ordered a few different colours because, like I say, I'm wanting to make loads of these baubles to hang up and down my stairs at Christmas. I think it will make a really pretty garland. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any gold jump rings. I don't know why. I just don't seem to have any. So I've just taken some like gunmetal black ones. And I think, well, as long as they're all the same, it'll be fine. So I've just opened up that jump ring. And I'm just going to thread it. Oops, get in the camera. Thread it through the top of that tassel like that. And then I can just pick up the bottom of the bead chain. Oops, this is fiddly and I'm knocking the camera. As you can see, I am not a jewellery smith. No silversmithing in my history. I just make it up as I go along. Oops. It's much easier when you're not on camera for some reason. Being on camera seems to make me all fingers and thumbs. Okay. So, get the pliers and just close them back up. And there you go. So that's my little tassel on. So cute. And then I just tied some ribbon around the top. Now there's no front, back side, it's all the same obviously. So it doesn't really matter for this bit. I just took a length of ribbon and I've just been sort of measuring it up against another one on the box, on another bauble before I cut it. Unfortunately, the beautiful green that I used on this one, I only had a length of that to do one bauble. So at the moment I've just got this cream organza, but next time I nip into town I am going to go up to Boys and get some more organza ribbons in sort of Christmassy colours to do the rest of the baubles. So I'll probably pick up some caramels, and that's where I got the green one from, I think. So, or I hope it was anyway. So I'll go and get some more. So I just thread in that through and then just tying a simple knot at the top. And obviously there's loads of different ways that you could make your top bit, your hanging bit. But I just wanted something quite simple that I can loop onto whatever system I choose to hang these up and down the banisters. I'll be able to loop these on. And then I just tidy up the ribbon tops like so. And then finally I'm going to tie a bow and stick a snowflake on it. Couldn't think of the word then. Okay, so to tie my bow I'm literally just ribbon around about in half. I just took a length and measured it or anything. Just what looks like it'll be enough. It's probably far too much and I'm wasting ribbon, but hey ho. And then I'm going to tie my bow. I'm not the world's best bow tire, but I just fiddle them out and faff about with it until I get it the way I want it, like so. Just keep sort of pulling on the various elements of your bow until you get it however it is that you want it to look. This is the bit where I can fiddle about for hours trying to make it exactly how I want it. That'll do. And then I've got these resin snowflakes. These are the ivory ones. They do them in white and ivory. These are the ivory ones. And then I'm just popping one of those in the centre of the bow. I wanted to keep it quite clean and simple and sort of elegant looking. I thought about, you know, embellishing them, but I just thought they're so beautiful on their own. They just don't need anything else. So I've just left them like that. And then obviously I can trim my ribbons down to, you know, whatever sort of size I want them to be. Like that. And there we go. Set the camera back up slightly. Just get rid of my glue string. So just remember with glue strings, normally I say if you've got glue strings, just waz over it with your heat tool and that will get rid of it. But if you used organza ribbon, just be really careful because organza ribbon fries under the heat tool really, really quickly. So I tend to steer clear of the heat tool when I'm using organza ribbon. And there we go, that's another one. So I've now got 4 of these gorgeous baubles. And that's a really good start for my Christmas bunting or garland that I'm going to pop down my stairs this Christmas. I absolutely love them and I'm so pleased that I got these in the D-stash. I wasn't sure when I first sort of said, oh yeah, I'll have a look at them. I wasn't sure whether I'd actually use them, but I love them. And I definitely will be making more because it incorporates my love of beads, my love of organza ribbons and the beautiful traditional Christmas papers that I love so much. So that's how I put together my Tonic Studios Winter Wonderland baubles. I hope you enjoyed having a look at how I created them. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I'd really love to have you along for all my crafty journeys. So I'm going to go and tidy all of this away now and stop making these for a while because I need to make the little book to go in the box that I made for Smash That Small Paper Pad yesterday. So once I've got everything done and tidied away, I will come back and film making that one. So that really is it from me, and I will see you all again very soon in another crafty video. Bye for now.